Why? Why? Why was this movie ever made? Why did they choose this script? Why is Peacock showcasing it? And why is Peacock, more importantly, showcasing a longer version of this garbage? Now, I'd like to tell you my solution to the Jurassic World, Jurassic Park series problems. Even though on paper it sounds like the worst thing you could do to a franchise, I believe I comprehend the best possible Jurassic Park sequel that could ever exist. With this one realization: the dinos have to die, or we will. To explain my point, it's important we go back to the roots of what makes a good Jurassic movie. The first film, I won't go into significantly, but at least we'll use it to establish what made Jurassic Park the instant classic it was. Jurassic Park follows dynamic characters as they are brought to the prototype design of this park, and soon they watch dreams come true as the very studies they've devoted their lives to are no longer just words or numbers in a textbook, but are actually alive. And the means used by Mr. Hammond and his scientists to create these dino clones, it makes sense, kind of, I guess, at least to me. This idea that turns into the theme of the movie of playing God. And I'd also argue it's kind of the theme of the whole series. Coupled with that is the feeling of disillusionment. Alan Grant goes from childlike wonder over actual dinosaurs to terror and outrage over the breeding of velociraptors. Yet with all the trauma sustained in surviving these creatures, he becomes more human. A father-like figure for a boy who is recently hinted to have lost a relationship with his own father. Mr. Hammond spends the first half of the movie with the most impossible to remove smile on his face in every scene, laughing, smiling, joking, making light of the situation, excited to show these people his pet project. But in one of the film's final shots, he stands at the same helicopter landing zone as the beginning of the movie, this time looking back at his creation in absolute fear. Fear of what has happened, fear of the future, fear of his own failure at playing God and the consequences. Good intentions don't always make good outcomes. As a child, I saw this as a really happy ending. All of the research and data was either gone or trapped on the island with the dinosaurs. Most of the people we care about got away with their lives. Even as an adult, I'd make an argument that's a perfect way to end the series. But that wouldn't make it much of a series with one movie, would it? If anything, Jurassic Park closes clearly showing that these formerly extinct dinos probably should have stayed extinct, and that coexistence just really is not in the cards. I mean, they were kept as zoo animals and still were dangerous. How could coexistence actually happen? The sequels repeat this same theme over and over and over and over again. Even though we're shown in the first movie that the characters have learned from their mistakes. Ian Malcolm spends a majority of Jurassic Park criticizing the idea of allowing these creatures back into our world. I'd make the argument that in the movie universe, Ian would prefer InGen, Hammond's company that did all of this, to terminate the dinosaurs and the Jurassic Park dream. Every single reason Hammond makes for the dream is perfectly counter-argued by Ian in Jurassic Park. Ian is one of, if not the most relatable characters in the movie, because he, once again, is correct. To properly make this video, I did suffer through all of the movies. And I can confirm that from Jurassic Park, the original, the downward spiral that are the sequels begin plummeting my mind into what I can only describe as a Twilight Zone episode. Ian and friends spend the entire first sequel being complete idiots. Nearly everything they do in the film is stupid. The good guys, if you will, cause nearly every problem of the entire movie. What happened to smart Ian? The next sequel wasn't as horrible, but it's still an awfully forgettable experience. The dinos are still landlocked to the 2 Costa Rica islands. And yet again, we're following a character who has already learned their lessons about Jurassic Park. But they return anyways because money. Not just in the story. Then we got another sequel in name only. Well, half of a name. This is one of those cheap sequels that they do now where really they're just recasting the exact same movie that they've already put out. And don't get me wrong, because usually I love Chris Pratt and all of his charm. But that charm really couldn't save this movie or this new trilogy, more so. Jurassic World sits in this weird place where on the first time you watch it, you think, this isn't that bad. This isn't a bad sequel at all. And then you realize in the second rewatch, it's because it's just the first movie minus the everything. And then came an even worse disaster, Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. This wasn't as bad, in my opinion, as The Lost World, but it's pretty close. In many ways, it's actually kind of the same movie. So, what I'm saying is the second movie in the original trilogy was copied by the second movie in the second trilogy. So, the first movie is like the first movie. The second movie's like the second movie. And the third movie, it just sucks. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it should have been like Jurassic Park 3. My whole point here is saying, let's make new movies that aren't like the last one. I remember the first time I saw the trailer for this new movie, and I just thought, what are they doing? Dinosaurs are somehow now living with humanity. Something that any person who's seen any of the previous movies knows is stupid. We establish in every single prior movie that we can't coexist with each other. The dinosaurs want to kill us. Ian even reminds us of this in a scene often used in the trailers. The age of humanity on Earth is a fart in the wind of the Earth's existence itself. We are an ongoing danger to each other, and there isn't any way around that fact. Jurassic World Dominion instead inexplicably forgets this, even though scenes exist in the movie and in the promotion of the movie talking about this, marching ever forward with a shallow story about the real threat. Bugs. You heard me right. Bugs. Not the dinosaurs that were genetically altered to be all female, that have now found a way, as Ian said, to reproduce anyway. Life, finds a way. Remember the dinos that coexist with us? Yeah, they do nothing to slow that down. It isn't even addressed in the end of the movie, because bugs are more important. The movie hints in the end that a sanctuary is now recognized by the UN. But remember, these dinos are all over now. And remember how quickly they're multiplying? Something we talked about again in the first movie. This ending is just as hollow as the rest of the movie. So what would I do different? This was, after all, advertised as the final Jurassic movie, and it closes with the notion that we must coexist. But that clearly is no solution at all. Look, the point I'm trying to make is that we needed a much darker ending to this new trilogy. And I think that ends in one of two ways. Option A: if this is really where you're ending to the Jurassic IP, you should have killed all the dinos. I know. Dark, sad, almost like depressing, even. But much better than completely forgetting the A story of the entire saga. This could be a definitive end to the series, and then at least we would have a second good Jurassic movie. But instead, we're ending in the exact same place as we've ended every other movie. Option B: I like this one less, but this is actually a year ago where I thought this movie would end up. The dinos being around give away a new plague affecting some dinos, but due to all the genetic malpractice and manipulation on now humans, I mean, we've got a human clone girl, this sickness would lead to a near extinction of humanity, and the dinos would rule again. The bleak ending could even carve a path to a new Jurassic sequel or even a trilogy, since that's what Hollywood does. A post-humanity ruled world occupied by survivors of the new pandemic, fighting to survive in a new Jurassic era. Regardless, hopefully this is truly the end of the Jurassic movies, at least for a while. But until the concepts of logic and wonder find their way back to Universal Pictures and Amblin Entertainment, we're gonna just have to leave well enough alone. That's really the lesson that the first movie and the whole series gives, so maybe we as viewers need to live by it. If you like this video, please give it a like, sub, and check out the rest of my stuff. I want to do more like this, and not just negative. I actually really want to go back and talk about what I think is probably the best movie of the last decade. And it just came out this year, this March. It was beautiful. And if you want to hear more, just let me know. See you guys.